Hello, and you are listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Paris.
And this week we're talking about Rugrats in Paris.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
Holy crap. So here I am with Paris talking about Rugrats in Paris.
Yep.
No judgment. I wanted to get to the bottom of this because when I found out about it, I didn't know whether I should be congratulating you, whether I should be concerned. I figured there's got to be more to the story than that.
I feel like I'm more like the villain of this story
There is definitely a villain.
than someone who would have some Rugrats. I'm a lot like, we'll see later on, but I feel like there's a lot of parallels between me and the villain in this.
You found someone you could relate to
Yeah.
in Rugrats in Paris. Well, look, it turns out, I mean, they're only kind of in Paris anyway.
Yeah.
Really. It's a little bit tenuous, despite this picture of a lot of unsupervised babies on the front cover going mental. And I should say as well, we laugh about intern editing on this show. Already there is a huge typo on the cover. It says a novelization of the hit movie, and they've left the S off hit. So nobody's read this
I was
before.
like, hits movie? There's more than one? What?
Yeah. Put that as wherever you like. So I feel like I should say we should be a little bit responsible here because this is clearly a book for children based on a movie for children.
Yes.
So if you're a child or have children and you found this because you're a Rugrats fan, this isn't for you. This is a sad case of adults making fun of something meant for children. And if that's a bit sad and that reflects poorly, please ensure that it should only reflect poorly on myself, who has put Paris through this. You are a passenger who's been very kind to come along for this ride and hopefully keep me in check throughout. But I also think, though, as adults, we should dismiss childish things as just like, oh, they're just for kids. It doesn't matter what they are, because there should be a level of quality. I want my, you learn things through pop culture. I want them to be smart. I think there is definitely a standard out there. There are plenty of coherent animated films.
Yeah, definitely.
This is not one of them.
I think even of that time, I still feel like there were films that were more clever than this.
Well, wouldn't this be around like the Iron Giant and those kinds of things, which were pretty... I mean, Pixar, this is 2000. Even Pixar would have been up and starting around then.
This is actually the first film I can remember seeing in the cinema as a kid.
Oh, really? So I was going to ask you about that, actually. What your... Because you would have had an actual child's perception of Rugrats. So, something you remember fondly?
I got on my iPad mid-film and gave it a half star on my Letterboxd account. No, I don't. All I remember is going to it, and I remember, when you're a kid and something as stupid as my name being in the title was like kind of cool. I remember that feeling of like, yeah, Paris. Like I thought it was a bit hip, and like seeing the cover, I had a memory that I had this book as a kid as well. I don't remember reading it, but there's like, the cover brings back memories. So
I've got to say, your name in the title was enough for me as well. I'm looking at books to offer, and I'm going through, and I'm like, Rugrats in Paris. Hang on, has to be.
I was actually laughing about that because I remember my first few episodes I was like, okay, picking these movies I love and like researching them and rewatching them and doing all this stuff and really feeling quite excited about it. And then you were like, Rugrats in Paris? You're Paris? And I was like, yep, that's fine.
It's good as well. I don't know, and I gave you B-movie last time, but I do like to do a kids movie every so often. I think that's where a lot of the more insidious stuff or lazy stuff is hiding because they don't think anybody's ever going to analyze it. And this is a weird one because it comes around that cusp of time where animation had become edgier. I remember feeling that to a degree Nickelodeon had been doing, like, this is back when Rugrats first came out. You were thinking, oh, Nickelodeon, I would think of things like Ren and Stimpy. And I don't know, like, it seemed like these were elevated in some way beyond what we'd had in the past. And I thought it was fine. Like, it was something I would see peripherally in the background. But this book/movie, and I did actually watch the film prior to reading it, is full of all sorts of problems that we're going to get into. And I don't normally get too riled up about stuff like this. On our other podcast, Fruitless Pursuits, I encourage people to be better critics and not just go, oh, that was a piece of shit, but to actually...
Well, think of, you're doing this for the children. Like, do you want children learning from this type of media? So you're doing a service.
Yeah, and it already, doesn't it send a shiver down your spine just to know that any, like, American characters in another country, it's going to be full of ignorant, lazy stereotypes.
And then when you got the, like, mask of hiding behind dumb children, so we can do it 10 times worse as well.
Yeah. Oh, they don't know what they're saying. They're hateful things that they are saying about the French. So, yeah, like, that never works out well. I would encourage America to stop doing our American characters visit, like,
anywhere.
Simpsons in Australia or in London or anything like that. It's just going to be a bunch of lazy, ignorant bullshit. So, please don't do it anymore. But here we go. Shall we get into this thing? Because, God, what tales we will have as we go through. It's by Kathy East Jabowski and Mark Jabowski. They've been authors on the show before. It took two people.
Power couple.
To write this. I know. Can you imagine that?
I wonder if they argue.
But no, Chucky's not like that. Chucky wouldn't say that. Of course I'm pissed off. You do not understand Chucky.
You do this every time.
I thought, look, I told you, I will stick with Phil, you handle Lil. It just makes sense that way. You don't understand what Phil is going through. You can't possibly understand.
I hope they have like a murder sort of pin-up board with the strings attached and then really go deep into this.
Yes, and unfortunately a lot of that must have been cut because they didn't go too deep in this book. But look, Kathy's written a whole group of wonderful books like Shark Attack. I wonder what that's about. Picky Nicky. The Case of the SeaWorld Adventure, which is a part of the Brilliant Adventures of Mary, Kate and Ashley series.
Hopefully part 1 of Shark Attack.
Could be, actually. Or an orca or something. They're dressed as... Fuck off! That's my phone. I should have turned it off. It's Jacinta, actually. Not enough to have her own weekly podcast. She wants to come in and like be a part of this one.
I'm going to barge in next FP cast, give my opinion on a film.
What a rude shit she is. Anyway, this isn't yours, Jacinta. You got the other one. And Gilmore Girls, I love you, you idiot.
I feel like, so that rang a bell. I think
we've mentioned it before.
Yeah, no, I feel like, Kathy and Mark are like the ones we always read.
I think every time I see that title, I want to read it out. And I think I need to find a Gilmore Girls book for BWB TV because, God, can you imagine how it's probably like 700 pages because of all the dialogue.
I do reckon they don't put spaces between some of the words when they're fast
punctuation.
talking. Yeah.
It's all just strung together. All right, so this is the beginning, and part of the problem, it should be evident already.
Tommy Pickles tried not to squirm. He was used to running around in nothing but a comfortable squishy diaper and a tiny blue t-shirt. Today, his mummy had covered that up with a fancy tuxedo and a snug bow tie, party clothes. But this was no party for Tommy. The room was dark and hushed. He had had a problem. He had to come to see somebody important, the one they called the Bob Father.
So already, what is going on here? Very clear in the movie as well, which has Rugrats 2 in Godfather font. The dark room, it is a parody of The Godfather. Mm-hmm. So already...
Why?
Who is this movie for?
like, that's something with animated stuff where they throw in jokes for the adults and, you know, it does really well in some films. But I don't think as an adult I'd have to go, oh my God, it's The Godfather, but baby. Like, I mean,
Like, oh God, I just shuddered because I can imagine DreamWorks out there going, Baby Godfather. This has legs. But look, I can understand that, like in Zootopia, where there's the sheep that are clearly looking like they're making meth. And there's the reference to Walter and Jesse. So you go, oh, it's a Breaking Bad reference.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, they name check two of those characters as Walter and Jesse, but it's just a throwaway and the adults chuckle.
Yeah.
This scene, like in the book, which is 130 pages, this Godfather parody is about 15, 16 pages. It's not a throwaway for the adults. It is crucial to setting up the story, the plot.
It's kind of it's returned to as well. Like, they keep going on about it. And I just think, like, just imagine being a child and hearing the words Bob Father together. That just does not make a word that I can comprehend as a child. You know, like, it's not something I'd ever even know what half they're talking about. Like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I had to, because I watched the film first. I'm thinking, what is she saying? Is she saying Bob? What is she saying? Like, and is that a reference to something? Like, I know it's Godfather, but what's the Bob part?
Oh,
is it, you know, and it turns out, as we'll find out a lot, the kid has a hearing problem. But, yeah, I was like, is there more of a clever reference beyond just hearing it incorrectly? Is it some sort of baby version?
Yeah, because I'm not a baby person or child person.
No, I can vouch. You're a grown adult.
No, like, I just don't like I'm not around children ever. And I was like, is a Bob another word for a bottle or a dummy or I don't know, like an American thing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, kid's a dummy is the problem.
We're giving them too much credit.
Yeah. So a parody of The Godfather. And I think if this film is for children, give it to them. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, and I can understand. You can say, oh, well, look, this was that era. Everything was kind of for everybody in the way that Simpsons was. I think this is definitely skewed younger, but at the same time you go, well, it's a movie. We're expecting a lot of people of various ages to be seeing this thing. But still, like I said, lace that stuff in, but don't make it a focal point. Like, don't assault the people that are going to get the most out of this with the least that they're going to get out of it, if that makes sense. Anyway, Tommy is seeing the Bobfather because his hideous younger brother, Dill. Can we talk about Dill? Dill is younger than Tommy. Mm-hmm. And Tommy's a baby, so, what, he's about 9 months younger?
At least.
And, God, he's a hideously drawn character. He's just a lumpy little Gollumy gnome Benjamin Button-looking thing. He can't talk, unlike Tommy. And, he's just absolutely gross. Like, he's one of the worst character designs I've ever seen. Like, you think, oh, babies, this is going to be cute. No, these characters are horrendous.
I watched it, and I don't know... I watched it on YouTube, and I don't know if the sound was made, like, really high-pitched or if that was just how things sounded, because it was really, really, like, bad sounding. But, yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that, but it was just, with that on top of the bad design, I was just like, this movie's so ugly. Like, it's just not fun.
No, and look at this. So this book has black and white illustrations of the characters. Dill doesn't look like he has a skull. He's just like a bag of empty flesh. Just this gross sort of shed skin. It's like one of Tommy's old skins that they decided to pretend was another brother. Disgusting. And Dill is there because he's lost his binky. Now, the book fails to explain what that is. Not a term I've heard commonly used. Was this clear to you?
No. So that was another one I didn't understand. But I think later on she does go to steal a dummy.
Yes, and then it becomes clear.
So...
It's a dummy. It's his dummy.
Or pacifier.
Oh, pacifier, yeah.
Sorry.
Actually, I think that's one of those funny things, because normally I give America shit for dumbing things down. Like, autumn, oh God, like two vowels at the beginning, an M followed by an N. Fuck that. We'll call it fall because the leaves fall from trees. But I feel like we're doing that with dummy because a pacifier, okay, it pacifies a child. The dummy's just like, whoa, fake person is a dummy. Fake nipple is a dummy. It's just a faux nip that goes in a baby's mouth.
But then Binky's just as bad.
Well, Binky's bullshit. Binky's indefensible. So the Bob father, of course, turns out to be who else but that precocious little scoundrel.
Tommy's cousin, Angelica Pickles, nodded slowly from where she sat in a big leather chair and stroked her cat, Fluffy, who sat in her lap. After a moment of thought, she chomped on a big cookie, then mumbled with her mouth full, "You come to me on the day of this wedding and asked me to take care of the boys who made your brother cry."
Yeah, and she does like the accent as well. So these kids are incredibly confused. If the problem is, if you're a parent and you take your children to see this film, you have no other option at all other than when you get home, you have to show them The Godfather just so that it makes sense. Like you've got, what else can you do?
And imagine like, as kids do, like playing the game of the movie they've just seen. So then the kids think they're playing Rugrats, but they're actually playing The Godfather. Like that would be such a confusing setting to walk in on your children doing. It would be great. I'd love it, but it would be confusing.
And then you're going to be like, God damn it, it's Godfather. And then they're going to Google it. And then you're going to go, well, I'd rather you learn it from me than out on the streets. And then, again, you're forced, no matter what happens, you have the moral obligation to show the children this adult film and scare the shit out of them. So this movie is backing people into a corner. Not cool. And unlike the movie, however, the book does at least try to explain what this completely inappropriate Godfather movie is, kind of.
She's gotten the idea from a movie on TV the night before. It was a movie for grown-ups, and her mum had dragged her away from it just when it started getting interesting. But Angelica had seen enough to know it was all about this family. The boss of the family was this old fat guy named the Bob Father. He sat in a big chair in a dark room. Everybody came to him with their problems. Then, if the Bob Father felt like it, he granted their wishes. Sort of like the Lizard of Oz, Angelica thought.
Yeah, how about getting this kid to a hearing clinic and running a few tests? Because something's not right there. And when it said she'd seen enough to know it was all about this family, I thought, oh, it's Fast and the Furious. Which is probably just as damaging.
Then you're going to show your kids how many movies? 8?
8 of them, yeah. Then you are morally obliged to show your kid 8 Fast and the Furious movies in one session. And then they're going to be running around on their little red wagons, hitting lampposts and catching on fire, all that sort of stuff. It's terrible. Okay, so here's another thing I want to ask. I'm going to have questions throughout. So, discussion points. Angelica can hear the babies talking, but nobody else can. Like, she can hear them and understand them. And I don't know how old she is.
Yeah.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
So, is this whole thing just a fantasy in her head?
It would explain why she's so bossy to them, I guess, because she's orchestrating them. But I think I've seen, like, fan theories where they've said that, like, they said something like some of the babies are, like, dead and they're in her head or something like that. Like, it was really dark and twisted.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of thing. Or I can't even remember it, but it was weird. But yeah, it could be. Or it could just be dumb children movies.
Could be that as well. But, yeah, I'm unsure. Let's just keep that, put a pin in it on our big board with all the string and everything and see if we see any more clues. And they're at Grandpa's wedding, apparently, where they are being very poorly supervised, which is a theme throughout this film. And the twins, Phil and Lil, are there as well, and they come to see the Bob Father.
Phil and Lil dragged a broken toy hobby horse into the Bob Father's meeting room and held it up before Angelica. Lil shivered. Even Phil gulped. Angelica usually looked kind of mean and scary. As the Bob Father, she was meaner and scarier. Bob Father, Phil said nervously. We found this broken horse in our crib.
Who is this movie for? You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're skirting around the idea of, oh, well, she just watched the beginning of the movie and she thought it was a Wizard of Oz type character that granted wishes. Fair enough. No, she at least went through and watched the whole horse decapitation thing and then mimicked it. And again, if your children are like, why is the broken horse in there? I have to sit them down and watch that scene. I'm obliged to as a parent.
Even, like, she says she saw enough of it before they got to the good stuff, which means that she saw that and was like, you know, like, it's not even gone there yet. Like, she's not right.
I heard that in real life, because, you know, this was obviously based on, not Rugrats, but Godfather was based on real shit that went down. They didn't cut off its head. They cut off its testicles.
Oh.
And the reason was because the value in the horse was as a stud.
Oh.
So
I mean...
They took away its ability to breed.
A head does that as well.
That's true.
For most people.
Yeah. Well, they didn't take away its ability to kiss, though. So that's something. And Nightmare Mutant Chucky rounds out our characters, of course, and he's on the dance floor with the families and the parents, including his dad, Chaz. Dee Dee glanced at her neighbour, Chaz Finster, Chucky's dad. His beautiful wife, Melinda, had died when Chucky was just a tiny baby. What a sad time that had been. Ever since then, Chaz had been both father and mother to his son, and he had done a wonderful job. But on a day like today, Dee Dee couldn't help but wonder, will Chaz ever fall in love again? Will he ever think about getting married? Sounds straightforward, right? But I've got some questions just from this paragraph here. Chucky's still a baby.
Yeah.
They're saying, oh, back when he was a baby.
Yeah.
He's a baby. If you shit yourself and someone else needs to clean that up, you're a baby.
Yeah.
And so that means this is still pretty fresh.
Yeah.
So your wife has died in the last year, maximum 2 years. You're a single father. I think Dee Dee's putting a lot of pressure on suggesting he should be thinking about getting married again.
And priority-wise, like, he's probably just really focusing, like, not even the fact that grieving takes quite a while, but, like, raising a child is a lot of work, I've heard. So
Yes, yeah, and he's got a job as well.
Yeah.
So it's
and then
like,
also, like, I mean, this sounds horrible, but, like, I would not be, if someone else just, like, had, like, just got a fresh baby and then they were like, you want to be in a relationship? I'd be like, whoa, you've got other things that you're dealing with right now. Like, and then, because the plot of the film's, spoilers, but, like, finding him a new mum. Like, he don't even dance around it. He's like, I want a mum. And it's just like, yeah.
And this guy is ready to get married in a page's notice, basically. He's, like, down for that.
Yeah.
They've got, the Finsters have a very sort of strict conservative code, I've realised, which will come out as we go. 2, can you picture Dee Dee?
No.
Okay, well, Dee Dee, for one thing, this was the first time the book mentioned us. They didn't set her up. They didn't describe who she was or anything. They just said, oh, Dee Dee thought this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who the fuck is Dee Dee? It's Dee Dee Pickles. It's Tommy's mum.
Oh, okay.
Now, unfortunately, some kid has ripped out the majority of the photo section. We are lucky she's here. So here she is.
Yeah.
Wearing thick glasses with nightmare red hair.
Yeah.
Don't you just assume that that's Chucky's mother?
Yeah, you would.
So they're talking about the dead mother, and I got nervous because I was like, well, I can see her. I see dead people. There's a ghost mother. And I thought maybe, like, has she got unresolved business? I got nervous.
And even that photo, she's lurking behind him.
Yeah, lurking behind
Chaz. She's
Chaz.
got no pupils, so she does look dead.
And both of them have glasses and red hair.
And that cartoon rules means that that's the mum.
Yeah, that is the mum.
Yeah.
That's clearly the mum. Like, you know, if we went by Flintstones rules, that's definitely the mum right there. So that's confusing. Phew. So it's all just a conceptual nightmare, basically. And turns out it really sucks to be Chucky.
All right, folks, the DJ shouted. It's time for a special dance for all the kids and their mums.
And apparently this rule at the wedding is very, very strict because Chucky is not allowed to go and dance there. Not with an aunt or a relative or even his father. No. You sit there and feel sad and cry and watch the other children because you don't have a mum, because that's DJ rule.
It's so sad in the movie. Like, I was like, this movie's shit, and then that happened, and I was like, oh, it like actually made me feel so sorry for him. So
I felt
dumb.
sorry for the values of everybody at that party because, like, it's like, of course someone's gonna go, oh, come on, Chucky,
Yeah.
I'll dance with you,
Or,
let's
like,
dance.
It'd be pretty fresh in everyone's mind. Like, why didn't you plan the wedding and be like, just... Because also I've never heard of this kids and mums dance in any wedding I've been to, but just be like, just leave that one out. Just
Let's
skip
not
it.
have the kids and mums
Yeah,
dance.
just skip it.
Let's play Who Let the Dogs Out again, because this movie certainly takes every opportunity to do that. So Chucky goes and makes a wish to the Bob father / Angelica, and he wants a new mommy. That's his request. Not that he'd even remember the first one, let's be honest.
True.
So what's it matter? Although back home, Chaz does have a box of memories of his late wife that he shows to Chucky, including a teddy bear.
Chaz smiled. I was just looking through some of our old things. He held up the raggedy old bear. Do you remember your Wawa? Chucky's face lit up. He threw his arms around the bear and hugged him tight.
Yeah, you loved that bear, Chucky, which is why I took it off you and put it in this child-proof box.
His dad was like, Chucky, you're a man now. No more teddies.
When I became a man, I put away childish things. Chucky, you've had to become a man very fast because your mother died in labour. She wanted you to have this, but you're a man now.
Sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you, Chucky. Get off that dance floor. So the next day, Chaz and Stu, or Stu, as the Americans like to say, who is Tommy's dad, at the computer searching for a Russian bride.
My daddy's helping your daddy catch some dates in a net, Tommy whispered back.
What are dates? Chucky asked.
Big raisins that make you poop, Bill explained.
And I put that in because it's a pretty good example of the quality of dialogue throughout. These babies are pretty obsessed with this stuff, although you never see them get changed by anyone.
Also, I, like, again, as a child, would not get that joke at all. I'd be like, poop. Like, that's what they're relying on. The whole rest of it, I had no idea.
My favourite birthday card I've ever bought anyone was an ex-girlfriend, and it was a picture of these young kids. I think they were in India, and they were in a pool, and one of them was going up the ladder in front of the other one. Mm-hmm. And it said, how did I know it was your birthday? I looked up the date.
Oh, God.
So we get some details here on Chaz's internet dating profile.
Chaz Finster, bureaucrat/bachelor. Beneath that, a colour picture of him filled the screen. All anyone had to do was point and click to find out all the kinds of things about him. His height, his weight, his underwear size, his hobbies.
Wait. So what kind of site is this where he's bragging about the size of his underdax?
An efficient one that just gets straight to business.
Chaz Tripod Finster is looking for love, ladies. It's like a swinging pendulum. He can barely walk. All right, so now things go really south. We cut to Reptar Land, which is a Tokyo-themed theme park in Paris.
So the riders couldn't decide if it was going to be Tokyo or Paris?
Yeah, so rather than just set this in Tokyo... Mm-hmm. We go to a Tokyo-themed theme park in Paris where we meet 3 new characters. So here is our villain, who you mentioned before.
The French woman, Coco Labouche, was in charge of all of Reptar Land. She looked like an elegant Paris model and had the personality of a fire-breathing dragon in a very bad mood.
The only French phrase I know is ferme la bouche. The mouth. Shut your mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So la bouche is to do with the mouth.
Ah.
And she had a loud mouth.
Ah, well,
so there you go. Her assistant, Kira, who is described as a sweet-looking Japanese woman, and then her right-hand man, Jean-Claude, who is just like a big old stereotype, I guess. And the premise here is that Stu built the reptile robot for the park, and it's an absolute piece of shit. So they want him to personally come over there and fix it, as opposed to any theme park employed maintenance crew or anything like that.
I mean, it's not money efficient, but if you make a mistake, you should have to fix it.
So I've been to Disneyland in Anaheim. The Small World ride, one of those little dolls, goes on the fritz. They have to get on the phone and call the person that call him out of retirement who originally designed that. Come in here, there's a little Zulu warrior that's not moving his spear. Because if you want to see a ride which is dedicated to stereotypes, they've got the fucking Easter Island statues in Australia. It's crazy. Anyway, Stu gets the call late at night and he mishears what is being asked of him.
Madam kindly recommends that...
Come with family and friends, Stu asked. Okie dokie. So, because he misheard that and he made that huge leap of logic, because of that, that is enough for Stu, Dee Dee, Tommy and Dill, plus their dog Spike, and Chucky and Chaz, and Phil and Lil with their parents, Betty and Howard, and Angelica, who has no parents. All of these people, this huge web of people, family and friends, drop everything they're doing and go to Paris because Stu was half asleep and misinterpreted that. So I don't know if these people have jobs of their own.
No.
I don't know if Coco was she paying for everybody's travel? I guess they put them up in the hotel.
Yeah.
I don't know. But if you have any, because this is where the movie really starts to you just going, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to just go, oh, I misheard this thing, so now everybody's going to Paris.
Maybe the Bob father was foreshadowing.
Oh, look. I mean, that makes the Bob father stuff look coherent by comparison. And you think, why Paris? Why not just Reptile Land in America? And it's were the animators that desperate to draw berets that they had to put it there? I'm beginning to feel that this is more problematic than Pixar's Cars. And if you've heard me talk about Pixar's Cars, I find that whole concept very problematic. This is really stretching it for me.
For most, when they're a TV show and then they have a special movie, it's always that they're going on holiday, right?
But you can understand that in live action because the Brady family go, look, we've been on that fucking set for the last 3 years. We'll do your movie, but you are taking us to Hawaii.
Right.
You get that.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, okay. Oh, we're going to go on a holiday. We're all going to go on. I've always wanted to go to this. Shoehorn is in there.
Right.
But this is just, I want to draw a beret. You know what I mean? There's no advantage for animated characters to go there. We've talked about books that have padding, but I feel like this movie is padding. The Paris trip seems to be an excuse for, oh, well, what would these babies do if they were on a plane? You know, what crazy hijinks would they get up to? And then, they also, didn't they pay for individual seats for babies as well?
Yeah.
So...
And they're little shits on the plane.
I know. Look, I wouldn't want to be the pickles accountant, that's for sure, because this is just insanity, the lengths they're going to here. Here's a odd thing that happens on the plane.
As the babies looked at Robo-Snail, they noticed a little boy across the aisle pushing a button on the arm of his chair. A light flashed above his head in the shape of a woman. Chucky wondered if it was some kind of game. But a moment later, a motherly-looking flight attendant hurried to the boy's side. She was pretty and smelled nice, and smiled at the boy as she handed him a blanket. "Look at that, you guys," Tommy exclaimed. "I never saw a mummy button before," Chucky said.
Pushed a few mommy buttons in my time. I thought, we talked about the binky, the dummy. I would if someone out there listening, next time you're intimate, if you can slip a mummy button into the conversation, either as a request or an invitation, I think that would be fantastic. Let us know how that goes on our Facebook page. And just say it really straight-faced and it's a sexy thing. And then, oh, God, then Chucky stares out the window.
Oh, this is...
He sees his mother's face in the
The
clouds.
song though is like, I want a forever mum or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like I'm sure she tried. Like, it was just weird.
She didn't try hard enough, clearly. And I don't know, I just felt like it's sad, but it feels so tone deaf. Like, it's not what you're there for in this movie. It's like, I've said this before as well, but like Toy Story 2, you know, Jessie starts singing that song. And it's like, go for a piss, get a cup of tea if you're, you know, like, it's so out of the pace of what you're into at that point. Well, anyway, they finally arrive.
Tokyo, Angelica said, "Don't you know nothing? We're in Parrots."
The baby stared blankly at her.
Parrots, Angelica repeated. City of Lice, home of the Napoleonish blown apart.
Yeah, seriously, syringe the kids' ears. Go, just anything.
This goes beyond, so like, generally when they're missaying things, you know what they're saying. I don't know what she's actually trying to say. So I'm assuming, like, other than Parrots and Pokio.
City of Lights, home of Napoleon Bonaparte.
Okay, maybe that's on me because I didn't have history at my public school.
Well, you're not much older than these babies, let's be honest. So they go to Reptile Land and Stu is chewed out by Coco for being a dipshit. Mm-hmm. So he goes to fix things, but Angelica has managed to hide under Coco's desk because no one is supervising her or worried about her whereabouts. Mm-hmm. And she overhears a private conversation between Coco and her boss, Mr. Yamaguchi, who is thinking about his replacement. He's getting old, who's going to take over? And obviously she wants the job.
The candidate should not be concerned with only money, Mr. Yamaguchi explained patiently. He or she must understand what it means to bring joy to children. In fact, he or she must have the heart of a child.
Okay, so because of this comment, and this again, we've already been stretched pretty thin with everybody going to Paris. Because of this comment, Coco lies that she's engaged to a man who has a baby. Mm-hmm. And this, apparently, in Mr. Yamaguchi's eyes, makes her a better prospect. Mm-hmm. But she pulls this out of thin air. She's got no idea that there's a guy who has a baby around or anything like that. So now she's got to find one, and that means that Angelica will try and hook her up with Chaz. Mm-hmm. So the movie is now about Coco wanting to marry Chaz because of some really vague reason. Like, we're supposed to accept that. Like, that's the pretty weak villain motivation right there.
I know. Did you notice as well the Jurassic World parallels? I felt like there was a lot of... So that she's like, runs a theme park, doesn't like kids. Crazy dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's about it. A bit stupid.
It does remind you constantly of movies that are better than this one. And it's certainly around that time where we'd still be thinking about those things. And... yeah, so Tommy and Chucky go to watch the princess parade in the theme park. So, again, like, Paris has not been important to this story yet at all. Like, oh, we're going to Paris. It's all been looking at Tokyo-themed stuff the whole time. Women in brightly coloured kimonos dance to the rhythm of the Princess Spectacular song. Samurai warriors imitated a fierce battle with their swords. I don't know, Tommy, Chucky said nervously. He watched the samurai warriors with their flashing swords. There's something weird about a guy in a ponytail and a dress. What the fuck, Chucky? You see what I mean? There's this conservative, weird, judgmental, closed-minded, homophobic, right-wing thing going on with the Finsters.
Pretty racist for a ginger.
Yeah. It's not cool.
Do you think that they wanted like these Tokyo ideas, but it's like kind of, I feel like they knew that they wouldn't be able to have it set in Tokyo without being super racist, so they were like Tokyo themed but in Paris because it's okay to do like shitty French accents, you know?
So it's almost like they're going, hey, don't blame us for all these stupid Japanese stereotypes. Blame the French who made this theme park. Yeah, it could be. Because, I definitely sort of came for the crude French stereotypes. And the Japanese stereotypes were just a bonus in a lot of ways. Although we do get the origin of another Rugrats character here. I didn't realise this was where she first came into it. And that's Kimmy.
Chaz was impressed with how nicely Kira had gathered the children and how gentle and sweet she was when she talked with them. Gee, Kira, he said shyly, you're a natural. Oh, well, Kira blushed. I have a beautiful little girl to thank for that. Kimmy's almost 2.
And I couldn't find any reference to what happened to Kimmy's father.
See, that was something that I also thought about watching this. There's a few absent fathers. No one cares.
Yeah.
One absent mother gets so movie. I mean, not absent, she died, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I've said this before about pop culture in general as well. There's this weird Hollywood, like, they definitely deify mothers. And another example of that is that fathers in movies, like kids' movies about families, work too much.
Yeah.
And it's always like, oh, Dad, like, why can't you come and do this or see this? You're working all the time.
Yeah.
What a douchebag. And the dad learns that, oh, I've got to put my family first. And then towards the end, he'll say to the boss, no, because I'm spending Saturday with my son. And everyone goes, oh.
Then he gets fired and they leave and they're homeless.
And and that's the thing. Like, everything they've got is because this guy's working.
Yeah.
But then there are mothers in films that work long hours all the time, and they're saints. It's like, my mum works so hard, like, she's just rushed in because she's, and you always see the mother wearing, like, oh, she's a cashier at night, and she's in the kitchen wearing that, going, have you got this? Have you done this? I'm sorry, I've got to rush out. And it's not like, why don't you spend time with me, douche? It's like, oh, yeah, like, she's doing everything she can.
Sometimes the dads have, like, better, like, they have the fancy corporate jobs.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then the mums have the shitty, just to get by sort of jobs. And that's, like, seen as more admirable. Like, maybe they give that impression that the dads don't need to be working that much. They're just being greedy.
Which is odd because it's such a capitalist country. Yeah. And there's so many other things that are sending that message of succeed and make money and climb and be business and take everything. But, yeah, the movies look at those people all the time. Like, oh, you're a douche. Whereas... I don't know, but I feel like there's some sort of weird placating thing, isn't it? Like, there's an interest in getting everybody to feel like they're honourable, saintly people because they work in a donut shop.
Yeah.
Like, that's something where you've got to make those people placated and happy because we need... because you need a big population of people that are doing those things. And that's the problem with that whole American dream thing. Like, anybody and I'm talking about this in terms of the way it's presented in something like Shark Tank. For anybody to do that, for your Steve Jobs or anybody who is successful and climbs to the top and makes it, there has to be thousands of other people who don't in order to make that one person's dream come true, because someone has to be in the factories putting all that stuff together.
Also, I saw something online recently and someone was saying, this has nothing to do with Rugrats, but anyway, they were saying how, that no matter what job you do, if you're working full-time, you should be earning enough to have a living wage.
Yeah.
And it was like, some people thought that was debatable because they were like, well, no, not if you're doing, you're working at Macca's or you're a cleaner. And they were like, no, if you're working full time, you should have enough to live.
Yes.
And it was seen as like this crazy idea. But yeah, it was weird. And then like the argument sort of turned because then people started saying, oh no, well, working at Macca's is really hard. You don't know how hard it is. And I was like, it doesn't matter if it's hard or not. You're sort of contradicting, the whole idea. But they were saying like, it's actually quite hard to work at McDonald's. And I was like, it doesn't matter. If you're working full time, it should be enough, which is seen, I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Like everyone should have. And it as well, it's, I sound like such a commie now. I'm not. But what do they say? They say like, I don't know if this is American wages or Australian wages, but the idea is that in terms of even like accumulation of wealth and being rich, that once you have that household income of, I think it's like 100 grand, that after that it becomes, well, so what?
Right.
Like there's no additional real measurable happiness beyond that. Like,
okay.
that's supposed to be the threshold where you can kind of do everything you want to do. I mean, like, unless you're going to... I can understand someone wins the lottery or whatever and then travels around for, you know, a couple of years or quits their job or whatever. But for most people, like, once you're at that threshold, if you want to go overseas every year, every couple of years, you can find a way to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I get so bored and you think about the kinds of things I do to just keep busy, including this fucking thing, reading Rugrats, etc. But the thing is, like, I sit there some weekends and think, well, there's nothing really like, I can do what I want to do. I could go to a restaurant every night if I wanted. I could go to the movies every night if I wanted. I could do that. I could drink nice wine and all those things. You go, well, it'd be bad if I did that because then I would be a big fucking blob like Chucky, Tommy's brother. So, yeah, like, I'm not really... And in terms of accumulating things, and I'm certainly doing a good job of that, but you have to then store those things.
Yeah.
So... You know, if you go and buy $5 million worth of stuff, you've got to have $5 million worth of space.
Yeah.
So it's always, So when you see those people that do really shifty things in order to continue to generate wealth and power at the expense of somebody else, you think, what are you going to do with it all?
Yeah.
Like, when is it enough? Like, what difference does it become whether you've got like 1 billion or 3 billion and what, you know... I just relax.
Yeah. Not that I work at a charity, so I'm not like crazy rich, but I had this time, you know, getting on top of money and everything and I got to this point where I was like, oh, I can actually put money aside for saving now. Like, I'm not just getting by. And then I was like, what am I going to save for?
Yeah.
Like,
it's just a number in the bank.
And I was like, I'm just going to go buy some clothes. Like, it was like,
Yeah.
I don't need it. I was like, I had this idea that I wanted a caravan. And legit, I was like, I have nowhere to keep a caravan. I live in an apartment building. It was just dumb.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I can't think of something where, like, if I wanted to do it or wanted it, or I couldn't find a way to do it. Like... You know, just we're comfortable and not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but you can do what we need to do. So, yeah, I don't remember how we got onto that, but you look, that's
distant fathers,
it's the
distant
most
mothers.
Serious thing you're going to hear on this show today. So just be thankful there was a little island of something amidst this sea of baby fluids. So, tourism time, Tokyo tourism time. These are some of the crude Japanese stereotypes I was referring to.
This place got the biggest babies I ever saw, Lil whispered. The babies were with their parents at a singing sumo wrestler restaurant. The baby that Lil saw was really a huge wrestler waiter wearing only a loincloth. That's gotta be one stinky diaper, Phil whispered back.
Yeah, and if you think like this is an outlandish thing, like this restaurant with singing sumo wrestlers, you know, you only have to look at the menu of the Outback Steakhouse in America to see that they are really doing this bullshit. Jacinta sent me a little picture of it, which had the bloomin' onion and said it was a real aboriginal.
Oh.
Yeah, so America has absolutely zero idea how fucking problematic that is.
Oh, no.
And yeah, just how like offensive their menu is and their whole like exploitation of a culture that they have made very little effort to actually understand is to Australian people.
Yeah.
So
just
yeah.
On that section, from a writing perspective, how long did it take just to like get that joke out? Also, I'm struggling as well, but like it was like 4 lines just to be like, babies thought that sumo wrestler was big baby,
and then to shat himself. Yep. So there was the photo section in the middle, like clear, colourful, but some kid has ripped them out, probably in a fit of rage. And it does completely give away who Chucky's new mummy is going to be. So no point reading the final half. That is the end. If only it was so easy. No, we've got another half to go. So Stu is fixing the robot Reptar and sets up that it is so simple that a child could work it. I wonder if that'll pay off later. And it actually got a bit of a Pacific Rim interface.
It does.
Which I thought was quite prescient. You know, I think maybe a younger Del Toro watched this and went, yeah, Rugrats in Paris.
It makes sense. I get it. And the, you know,
This
with
is gonna work.
the final scene as well.
Yes, absolutely. And Coco is in the park with Chaz, trying to get inside his huge underwear and basically pretending that she likes kids.
Mon Cherie, Coco said to Chaz, squeezing his arms. I could listen to your fascinating health history all day. Wow, Chaz thought. None of his other dates had said anything like that. I'll tell you all about my poor sinus drainage when I get back from the little boy's room.
The little boy's room. What is the deal with Chaz? Like, what is wrong with this guy? He says the little boy's room, talks about his underwear, he wears suspenders and a bow tie. I felt there was a bit of a serial killer vibe about him. And then I started to wonder what really happened to Chucky's mother.
Why he's so ready to just get another wife.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to know. I want to see the financials. I want to know,
I thought you were going to say autopsy.
Yeah, I don't want to see the autopsy. I want to see the autopsy. I want to see the financials. I want to know who was going to profit from the death.
Life insurance and all that.
Yeah, and like this woman runs Reptile Land. You know, this is perfect.
Who's playing who?
For him, exactly. Yeah, you look out for this guy. And this little boys' room thing, and I hear that on even like American podcasts and stuff, people saying, I've got to go potty and things like that. And it's funny because I've heard a lot of stuff recently with Americans making fun of British people about being all sort of prudish and proper. But then, like, at least Australians are like, oh, I'm going to go have a fucking slash.
I remember getting told off.
Dunny.
In high school, I got told off because I was like, I need a wee. And they were just like, oh my God. And I was like,
Oh, we?
I'm not going to be like, I'm going to go in the toilet and do something.
I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go powder my nose in the restroom. Anyway, these kids go to the Ooey Gooey World ride, which is a thinly veiled small world, except for the fact that
The little cars went down a miniature railroad in a tunnel inside the mountain. Along the way, happy wooden puppets waved and sang along with scratchy, piped-in music. The ride was named for the sticky, jelly-like goo that oozed from the walls of the tunnel and piled up in blobs along the tracks.
And if that wasn't already weird enough, Lil leaned out of the car and grabbed a handful of goo. Oh, it's so soft and squishy full. Phil grabbed a wad off her hand and stuck it in his diaper as he said, that's good stuff, let's stock up. So yeah, they fill their diapers with green goo, which, you know, I'm thinking he's going to get changed later and they're going to think he's got some very weird and gross disease.
Blame it on the French.
Yeah, he's going to spend half of his holiday in hospital. Like, just being in France will give you a venereal disease, apparently.
Do they eat it later on?
There's in the movie, I'm trying to think, I feel like it's days later.
Yeah.
He like farts and there's a green bubble
And she's like,
comes out of his.
I thought you'd only do that in the bath.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So they don't get changed, basically. So the 5 babies, they easily evade the dopey adults and wander alone in the park. None of the other guests think this is weird, although they do get captured again by the security guards, which are also ninjas, because Japan in Paris. So Spike the dog, he's escaped from the hotel. He's out, which led to the first usage of who let the dogs out. If you're making a movie and there are dogs and you decide that this is a good idea to actually pay for the rights for that song, and like the only thing is slightly forgivable is that it was the year 2000,
Yeah.
you know, and but people still do it.
Yeah.
So it's not clever, it's not funny, it's not new. They just don't do it.
The song is actually about ugly women in the club, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, and
In
then
the club.
but the kids don't know that. So they're singing it and excited about it. And then there's a lot of ugly women with hurt feelings.
Yes.
And 2, as an adult, you're morally obliged to then show them the film clip and explain to them about how it's okay to write songs about ugly women. So there you go. And he meets a French poodle. For a moment, both dogs stared at the slice of pizza, then they wagged their tails and bit into opposite ends. Slowly they chewed, pulling the stringy cheese between them like rubber bands, tighter and tighter until finally, whack! it snapped and smacked their heads together cheek to cheek. So again, this is a movie made up of references to better movies.
And we got our food reference.
True, we got pizza. That is one of the...
So I don't know if there's a hot dog or burger.
No, but pizza's third best. It's
Yes.
the bronze.
Yeah.
And I bet Chucky has this really fucked up dream, which is a song in the film.
And he has abs in it. It's so weird.
Yeah, Chucky with abs.
Then Chucky changed. His hands and feet become stronger like hammers. Every nerve tingled. He was a master of martial arts. Chucky Chan.
Well, you come this far, Book, you may as well take a shot at the Chinese as well. So Chucky decides he wants his new mother to be a park princess. And Coco pretends to be one in this big reptile show they have on stage. This leads Chaz to finally get a bit of a boner over Coco. And a page later, literally a page later, they're getting married.
Yay!
Because this guy is that conservative. Or a serial killer. One of the two. And the sole voice of reason, which is Kira, the Japanese assistant, decides maybe it's finally time to act.
I can no longer stand by and watch you destroy their lives. I'm telling Chaz the truth, Kira declared. And there's not a thing you can do to stop me. The driver screeched to a halt. The back door opened and Coco shoved Kira out the car. Except throw you out on the curb, Coco said.
And I'm not going to read out the bit where she curb stomps her after that. I thought that was a little bit tough. And again, then you've got to sit the kids down to watch American History X. So the babies are kidnapped by Jean-Claude and held in a warehouse with the reptile robot while the wedding goes on despite the children all being kidnapped. And the babies naturally jack the reptile robot and rampage through the park and out into Paris, which is great because then we finally see Paris.
Reptile crashed through the gates to the theme park and knocked the head off an animatronic character at the entrance. We hope you enjoyed Reptile Land, the head said. The happiest place on, over and over until another big robot came along and crushed it. Robo-Snail. Going somewhere, my reptilian friend? Robo-Snail said loudly. His voice sounded familiar. You babies cannot hide from Jean-Claude, super escargot?
Yeah, so America, culturally sensitive as always. In the writer's room, they're going, they're in France, and there's a giant robot snail. We gotta spend time putting this together. And it's a robot rampage over a few pages, punctuated with comedy baby gold, like...
Hang on, you guys, Chucky said. I think I got the wedgie. Chucky wriggled the stuck diaper from his bottom. Changed in a week. Reptar copied, then off they went to Chaz and Coco's wedding.
Sounds like the premise of Colossal, actually. And they fuck up Robo-Snail. Then Phil leaned on the rocket lever one last time, and wham! Robo-Snail was suddenly aflame, rocking back and forth on the bridge. I'm being sautéed, Jean-Claude groaned, and I have no white wine. Yeah, because he's French. And I'm Australian, kangaroo wombat meat pie. So Chucky interrupts the wedding with his first word, which is no or no! And Chaz calls off the wedding because of Chucky's distress. And Mr. Yamaguchi turns up, he finds out about the kidnapping, and he fires Coco as well. And if that wasn't enough humiliation for this woman, here is the final thing to really rub salt into the wound.
Rip! The entire back of her dress ripped off. Jean-Claude couldn't resist. I see London, I see France, I see Coco's underpants. Then Coco shrieked and stormed out of the church. Everyone fell silent and looked at one another. No one was quite sure what to do.
Even Jesus up on the cross there was absolutely shocked at this sexual humiliation of Coco to punctuate this grotesque tale. And then Kira turns up and...
Chucky was smiling at Kira as if she were a princess, or better yet, as if she were the most wonderful mummy in the world.
And 6 months later, Chaz marries Kira. And 6 months after that, she turns up dead.
And that's it.
Yeah. No, so yeah, really keen to get married. I mean, like, the wife's not cold yet. And he's got to do it.
Would you want a child that was just your responsibility, though?
Not one that looked like that. Fuck. God. What if someone thought it was mine? No, definitely keep a paper bag attached to the stroller, taking Chucky out. I mean, I thought at first it was an origin story of the murderous doll Chucky when I saw him. They're not that dissimilar. Fuck off, Jacinth. No, that was Suzanne. Sorry, Suzanne. Wawa's a really nice bear, Kimmy said.
Thanks. My old mummy gived him to me, Chucky said.
Do you miss her, Kimmy asked.
Sometimes, Chucky told her, but then I remember she's up there watching me from heaven.
Chucky, don't push your views on everybody else. Gosh. He's, telling you, very conservative family. And then I get to read the end. I have not opened this up and read it yet. I wanted it to be a bit of a surprise. So here we go. Oh, Chucky exclaimed, a food fight, and then cake and frosting were flying everywhere, filled through the groom figurine and it bounced off Angelica's head. DeVille, she screamed, when I get my hands on you, you'll be wishing you were sleeping with the goldfishies. And she took off after him. Come on, you guys, Kimmy said. Phil needs our help. But Kimmy, Chucky argued, Angelica's bigger and meaner. It didn't matter. Kimmy was already running after Angelica. Well, Tommy, Chucky said, I guess this is how it's going to be from now on. Chucky and Tommy both laughed. That's a limp dick ending. That's it. I guess this is the way it's going to be. Just like 5 seasons of this thing that preceded it. Oh, here's about the authors. Shall we try this?
Yes.
Kathy East Dubowski and Mark Dubowski started writing and illustrating children's books while they lived in a small apartment in New York City. Now they work in 2 old barns on Morgan Creek near Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So, wow, they mustn't get along anymore during the writing process. Like, a separate barn is pretty intense.
I think, is it meant to sound like they upgraded? Because it doesn't sound like they did.
I'd rather work in my own old barn than sit here and listen to this. Yeah? Fine. I'm going to go buy 2 old barns. They live with their daughters, Lauren and Megan, their 2 golden retrievers, McDougal and Morgan. Authors always think you want to know about their pets. He's a really good writer. What pets do they have, and what are their names? They also wrote the novelization of the first Rugrats feature film, the Rugrats movie, the Rugrats chapter books, Chucky Big Wish and It Takes Two, and the Wild Thornberries chapter book, Gift of Gab. I'm such a grown-up, I'm reading books with chapters. So, and look, and there's an ad for Rugrats in Paris, the movie game, on the Nintendo 64, PlayStation, and Game Boy Color.
Wow. Can you walk around in like the robot?
Yeah, yes. Oh, look, and to unlock a secret game, purchase the frog in the prize centers. Frog, because they're French. When playing against friends, try to win more prize tickets than them. On the Ooey Gooey World Ride, watch out for falling globs of goo. They will slow you down. To defeat RoboSnail, earn enough golden tickets to get the Reptar control helmet. Sounds great. So you'll see my full playthrough of that game on YouTube very soon. All right, thank goodness that is the end of this gross baby adventure. I've got to ask, was the book better? Oh, and I should say the film's closing credits, Who Let the Dogs Out again.
I'm going to say the book was better because there was no songs and it's more flammable.
Well, look, I was going to say the thing about the no songs, and you've just one up to with the idea of setting this thing on fire. So yes, I agree. Book was better. Well done, you crazy barn-dwelling lovebirds. Now, I couldn't find any reviews on Amazon, but Goodreads had some stuff. I don't like going into Goodreads. Mm-hmm. It's not a nice place to be. It's dangerous. There's no rules, kind of martial law. But if you thought we were tough nitpicking this book, here's someone that really struggled with it. There was one big oops, though, lol. On one page, it says that Kimmy joined Tommy, Chucky, Phil, and Lil into the big Reptar. Then, maybe 2 pages later, it says they picked Kimmy up on the way to Notre Dame. Methinks someone was either rush reading before they released it or just didn't care since it's for kids and they didn't think anyone would notice. Just saying that you can't have it both ways. She wasn't there. Then she appeared to get onto the reptile monster and then disappeared again to be picked up on the way to Notre Dame. I mean, that makes no sense, lol. So, fucking, let's get some better communication happening between these barns, please. Get them some walkie-talkie, something. I reckon one of them wrote one part, one of them wrote the other part. Neither of them had thought about Kimmy.
Yeah.
I think they had picked characters to write like a sports team at the beginning. I picked Tommy. Oh, fuck. Okay, I'll pick Chucky. I'll pick Phil, Lil. And then there was that argument. No, I'm going to be Phil. That makes sense because I'm a boy, etc. Kimmy got left out. Got picked up twice. It's bullshit. Took me out of the book. Took me out of the movie.
And up until that point, it was fine.
Yeah, it was going pretty well. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can find out what we're doing at fruitlesspursuits.com, where you will find links to FPcast, the Pop Culture Podcast, plus Facebook discussion group, Facebook page, iTunes, review, rate, Patreon, all that sort of bullshit. And thanks so much, especially to you, Paris. I'm glad you survived the Rugrats being near you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anything you want to say, do, plug?
No, I'm just overwhelmed with that review. I can't really think of anything else except for getting to know that person and befriending them for life because I love them.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, it's made me think a lot about vasectomies. So.
Can I just, actually, I do have one thing that I was thinking about, and when I said felt like a connection to Coco, the villain, is that a lot of the jokes are like the babies will do these disgusting things, and it's like they'll vomit on her, and she won't like that, and they're like, oh, she doesn't like when we vomit on her.
Yeah.
And that's very normal. So, all those people who aren't a fan of being vomited on by children, you're not a villain.
She was having a sleep and Phil shat on her face. What a bitch. Well, yes, there you go. So, thanks everybody. That was a lot of fun. And next week is something. It's been planned, but I don't remember what it is.
It'd be great, though.
It's going to be so good. So, look out for that. And,
Catch you on the flip.
Jumanji.